Hello and welcome. This video deals with the rest of the part of the chapter Nelson Mandela Long Walk to Freedom. In part 1, we had seen the inauguration ceremony being held at the United Buildings, in the amphitheater there, in Pretoria, the welcoming of the guests from all over the world by Mr. Nelson Mandela. Then the generals of the military, they had given recognition, they saluted the elected government. Then we had seen the singing of the two national anthems. We also saw how Mr. Nelson Mandela remembered the heroes who had given their lives for the freedom and what all he learned and he imbibed from the life and character. To refer part 1, you may click on the link given in the description. Now, let's begin with the rest of the chapter. In life, every man has twin obligations. Obligations to the family, to his parents, to his wife and children, and he has an obligation to his people, his community, his country. In a civil and humane society, each man is able to fulfill those obligations according to his own inclinations and abilities. But in a country like South Africa, it was almost impossible for a man of my birth and color to fulfill both those obligations. So, twin obligations he's talking about, that in life, man has two obligations. One is towards the family and the other one is towards his society, his people, his country. So if you're living in a civilized society, then you can easily fulfill these twin obligations. But when you're living in a country like South Africa, where you are suppressed at every moment, we are not given any kind of freedom, there to fulfill these twin obligations was really very typical job. It was almost impossible for a man of my birth and color to fulfill both of those obligations. In South Africa, a man of color who attempted to live as a human being was punished and isolated. See the irony. A human being cannot live as a human being. If you try to be one, then you shall be punished and you shall be isolated. That was the torture and the torments the people there had to suffer. If they wanted to live like a human being, then they would be taken away all alone. They were taken away from the family. In South Africa, a man who tried to fulfill his duty to his people was inevitably ripped away from his family. Ripped is taken away from his family and his home and was forced to live a life apart. A twilight existence of secrecy and rebellion. So both these things, they existed simultaneously. A life of secrecy and a life of rebellion. They both existed simultaneously in that society at that time. I did not in the beginning choose to place my people above my family, but in attempting to serve my people, I found that I was prevented from fulfilling my obligations as a son, a brother, a father, and a husband. Obviously, you have to give away, you have to sacrifice. So in doing a lot for the people of his country, he had to do away with the obligations towards his family. I was not born with a hunger to be free. I was born free. Free in every way that I could know. Free in every way that I could know. So freedom at that time when he was born meant very different to him. For a child, a freedom is just moving out and playing with the toys he wants to. For a little boy, it's roaming about in the fields. So freedom has got different meanings. So while he was young, he thought that he had the amount of freedom. Till he listened to his parents, the freedom was there given to him. Free to run in the fields near my mother's hut. Free to swim in the clear stream that ran through my village. Free to roast mealies under the stars and ride the broad backs of slow-moving bulls. So these were the freedoms that he craved for when he was young, a boy. As long as I obeyed my father and abided by the customs of my tribe, I was not troubled by the laws of man or God. So he was happy. He thought he was free. He was born free. So he did not have that craving for freedom, because all kinds of freedom that he had known at that time, he got. So that was freedom for him. It was only when I began to learn that my boyhood freedom was an illusion. So it was all fake. Slowly and gradually, as he grew up, he learned that that freedom that he was thinking was there for him. It was just an illusion. It was fake. It was not the actual freedom. When I discovered as a young man that my freedom had already been taken from me, that I began to hunger for it. So once you realize that it's not the freedom that you're having, you start craving for it. You become hungry for it. And that was the time. So he was not born with that hunger inside him. He was not born that, no, I want freedom. No. But slowly and gradually, as he grew up and he realized what freedom was, then he became hungry for freedom. He wanted it now. At first, as a student, I wanted freedom only for myself. The transitory freedoms of being able to stay out at night, read what I pleased, and go where I chose. So when he was there at the school or college, he just wanted to be out late nights, read whatever. These were the petty freedoms that he wanted for himself. Later, as a young man in Johannesburg, I yearned for the basic and honorable freedoms of achieving my potential, of earning my keep, of marrying and having a family, the freedom not to be obstructed in a lawful life. So later on, as he grew, the freedom changed. Earlier, it was just loitering around late in the nights and reading whatever he felt like. That kind of freedom he wanted. When he grew a little more, then he wanted to marry the person of his own choice, have a family, and have economic independence and all these. So see how the freedom is changing slowly and gradually as the age is changing. But then I slowly saw that not only was I not free, but my brothers and sisters were not free. So slowly and gradually, as he gained age, he understood that not only he was not free, but also his brothers and sisters, all like him, the other people who were like him, they were also not free at all. So they were just in a fake delusion that yes, they were all free when they were young. I saw that it was not just my freedom that was curtailed. Curtailed is, which is hindered, which is stopped. But the freedom of everyone who looked like I did. This he understood when he grew up. When he was small, he didn't understand that. But when he grew up, he understood that all the others, the brothers and sisters, he's calling all those people as brothers and sisters who looked like him. And their freedom also was curtailed. It was taken away by the whites. That is when I joined the African National Congress. So he was pretty grown up, and now he understood what exactly was happening to them. And that was the time when he joined the African National Congress. And that is when the hunger for my own freedom became the greater hunger for the freedom of my people. So now, earlier he was craving for his own freedom. For me, I should be running in the fields. I should be doing me, I. That was all over now. Now he wanted the freedom for my people. It was this desire for the freedom of my people to live their lives with dignity and self-respect that animated my life. So whatever later on happened, animated my life is whatever happenings happened in his life later on were all driven by the force that was there inside him to give freedom and grant freedom to all his fellow beings and give respect to them in life. That transformed a frightened young man into a bold one. So this is how transformation took place. Once his hunger was curbed down and the hunger for the freedom of the others that had overtaken him, that was the time when he became really bold and he wanted respect and freedom for all that were like him. That drove a law-abiding attorney to become a criminal. So because of that, from a law-abiding attorney, he had become a criminal. How he became a criminal? Because if he will have to stand with all these people, then in the eyes of the whites, he would be a criminal. So he became a criminal because he wanted freedom for those men. That turned a family-loving husband into a man without a home. That forced a life-loving man to live like a monk. I am no more virtuous or self-sacrificing than the next man. But I found that I could not even enjoy the poor and limited freedoms that I was allowed when I knew my people were not free. So now he could not enjoy his freedoms. He knew that his people were not free at all. Freedom is indivisible. The chains on any one of my people were the chains on all of them. The chains of all my people were the chains on me. This he understood readily. Slowly and gradually he understood that if I am getting the opportunity to roam about, to earn, and rest of my brothers and sisters, they are all chained, it did not mean freedom. Freedom actually was freedom for all. If there is chain on any one of them, then it is chain on him also and chain on all of them. I knew that the oppressor must be liberated just as surely as the oppressed. A man who takes away another man's freedom is a prisoner of hatred. He is locked behind the bars of prejudice and narrow-mindedness. I am not truly free if I am taking away someone else's freedom, just as surely as I am not free when my freedom is taken away from me. The oppressed and the oppressor alike are robbed of their humanity. So he believed that both the oppressed and the oppressor, they are taken away of the human values. He is prisoned by narrow-mindedness and by the torture that he is doing to the other people. And obviously the oppressor, the oppressed ones, his freedom is being taken away. So both had lost their human values and both were captive. Now, let us do the oral comprehension check questions. What twin obligations does Mandela mention? Mandela has mentioned the twin obligations that every man has. One is towards his family, his father, mother, wife, brother, sister, son, daughter, and the other one is towards his people, his society, and his nation. And in a civilized society, a man can fulfill both these obligations easily. Next question. What did being free mean to Mandela as a boy and as a student? So as a boy, he wanted freedom there to roam about in the fields, ride the bulls, and be late at nights when he was a student and read the literature of his own choice. These were the petty freedoms which he wanted. Again, in continuation, we have the next question here. How does he contrast these transitory freedoms with the basic and honorable freedoms? So slowly and gradually, as he grew up, he understood that these freedoms, these small freedoms which he was craving for, these were not the basic and honorable freedoms. The freedoms which were taken away from the people because of the apartheid regime being followed there in South Africa, those were the basic and honorable freedoms, and he understood that fact, and when he understood, he had started the hunger for that freedom. Does Mandela think the oppressor is free? Why? Why not? Mandela thinks that the oppressor is not free because he believes that an oppressor is there locked behind the bars of prejudice and narrow-mindedness. So even he is captivated by the narrow-mindedness and the prejudice. Now let us take the questions of thinking about the text. Question 1. Why did such a large number of international leaders attend the inauguration? What did it signify the triumph of? A large number of dignitaries had attended the inauguration because it signified the victory and the triumph of the human dignity and peace and justice. And all those people had come there on that South African soil to witness that victory. Next question. What does Mandela mean when he says he is simply the sum of all those African patriots who had gone before him? Now, by this, Nelson Mandela here means that all the people who had suffered and taken the atrocities of the whites which were given to them under the apartheid regime, that had built up their character, and whatever fights and sacrifices they had made, he learned from all those people, and he took the qualities from all those people, and he became a sum of the character of all those people. This is what he means. So he has not forgotten those people who have laid down their lives for this path to freedom of South Africa. Next question. Would you agree that the depths of oppression create heights of character? How does Mandela illustrate this? Can you add your own examples to this argument? Yes, he has taken the name of Fishers, etc. There are so many names that have been given here in this chapter. And all these people, because they were tortured and tormented and so many atrocities were done on them, they were oppressed so much. That is the reason why their character became so vast and huge. Because of that, because of those sufferings that they had, they became so big. And some such characters we have in our history also here, like if I talk of Mahatma Gandhi, Sardar Bhagat Singh, etc. All these were the people on whom the atrocities were done, and they came up with huge and big character. Next question. How did Mandela's understanding of freedom change with age and experience? That we have done previously also. Let's revise it once again. That when he was a boy, he craved for small things. When he grew up, he went to the school, what all he craved, you write that. And when he grew up, he wanted family and marrying and all these. But further, when he grew up, then he changed from a lawful attorney to a criminal. He realized that his freedom was not the freedom. He understood the basic and the honorable freedom that was there for his people there who were like him, and then he transformed and he became a freedom fighter for his country. This is how the hunger for freedom changed in life. Both these questions you can write in this manner only. The previous question also with age, how it changed, and then how did Mandela's hunger for freedom change his life. So the hunger for freedom changed his life, that earlier he was an attorney, and then later on he became a criminal in the eyes of the government, then government, that was the whites, and he became homeless and he became a monk, and he was on the path of freedom now, right? Now let us see the exercises. The exercises given here are based upon the formation of noun. We all know what nouns are. Noun is the name of a person, animal, place or thing. And verbs are action words. So they have given us 2 here, and rest you have to search from the chapter, and then you are supposed to fill in the table. 2 are given over here. Rebellion is the noun and the verb is rebel. Similarly, you have constitute and constitution. The others, you may read the chapter and fill in the table. The next exercise again is on the formation of the noun only. I will do first blank and the second blank for you. Martin Luther King's contribution. In the bracket you have the word contribute, and the answer is contribution. Similarly, you will be making nouns for all the words that are given in the brackets here. Now, if we see the next exercise, the exercise is based upon the use of a definite article the. What we have learned is that we do not use the article the before proper nouns. But when you are to give emphasis, then you do use the proper noun the in front of the proper nouns also. Here, the example is given over here. The Nelson Mandela, or I may say Nelson Mandela's, right? So this is emphasizing. When you want to emphasize, you can write definite article the before the proper noun also. Like I say the Bachchans, right? Right? That way it is. So examples are given over here, and they are asking you where you can, the exercise is about inserting the article the there in the sentences given. The next exercise is based upon the idiomatic expressions. Right? The meanings are given over here, and I have explained all of them in the chapter. You refer to the video and you may choose the right answer from the options given here. Here is your homework question. This is about writing an article or a speech on whether the freedom or liberty is all about freedom from poverty, deprivation, and all forms of discrimination. Right? So have a look at the question here and do it for homework. Nelson Mandela has displayed balance in writing. Beautifully, it has been seen here in this extract. If I read a sentence, you'll be easily able to know of it. Let me read it. It requires such depths of oppression. Then the rest of the part is left there for us to fill in from the given table here. To create such heights of character. So oppression is there and heights of characters are being built. So a balance he is keeping. Similarly, you will complete the rest of the sentences because it is given here in the chapter itself. Now, if we see the next exercise, that is based upon the contrast that the chapter offers of past and future and present. So here the sentences are given where contrast is there and coordinate clauses have been used. We all know what a clause is. A clause is a part of a sentence that has got a subject and predicate in it. And coordinate clauses, they generally begin with coordinate conjunctions, right? So here, let us see, one I'll do for you and the others you may continue doing. The first one is here. For decades, the Union buildings had been the seat of white supremacy, and now, this is the first one. So how you have to fill in looking at the sentences which are given there in the chapter itself. And now it was the government, the democratic elected government that was there in that place. Similarly, you would do the other sentences. Now, a bit of writing exercise for y'all. Write in about 100 to 150 words your thinking on the color prejudice in your country. Give your views because they are really valuable. History is full of personalities which have always inspired us and hovered our minds to think what people can do, what humans have in them. One such story we read today. Hope to see you in the other videos with many more inspirational stories and personalities. See you in the next video. Till then, stay home, stay safe.